pencil sling. And now it comes down to one putt for the win. Is it his time?
All right. We are back with another episode of the Pitchmark Collective. We're doing something a little different today. We got a special guest, Sean Lanyi, with us. We got a full crew. We got Teddy, who's apparently a field player, and Justin, who averages 33.4 putts a round based off the little bubbles we got on our screen. Sean, maybe that is our cue to kick it off over to you for an introduction with Justin's putting clearly needing some help here. So
I was going to say, I feel like that's lower than what it usually is. No,
you
I don't know.
shaving some
That's
strokes
off the
there,
grant.
Justin?
That's off the grant. So
I think the Florida swing helped him. I think that's what it was.
yeah,
we should definitely be calculating that number off the first putt length. Then we know what we're talking about here.
that is valid. Yeah.
So your proximity to the hole is kind of important here, Justin. If you could start tracking that stat as well, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. There's just too many things bobbling around in my head trying to keep the round together before I fall apart. So,
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So Sean, why don't you give us a little background? You know, I'll summarize a little bit what I know about you. You know, golfer, entrepreneur with the business ownership, aim point instructor. I know you run a few of the junior stuff out there in Oregon, right? So with that, I'll pass it to you. Do a quick intro, and we'll just get right into it.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. My career basically started as an assistant pro in Southern California. I was teaching junior golf and, involved with the growth of the game. And that's kind of where it all started for me. And, for the most part, going from a couple clubs in Orange County to having a death in the family and jumping on a flight and moving out to West Maui and basically meeting one big influential mover and shaker, Jerry King, who was the director of instruction at Kapalua. And, he was the kind of first and foremost, the guy who saw some value in how I conducted myself, my work ethic, and the passion that I had to develop players. And, obviously I was interested in improving my skill set and understanding for how to become a coach, because it's just not something that happens overnight. But, fortunately I worked for him for quite a few years, and then was capable of really just kind of moving on to a different operation and taking over an instruction program at Ko'olina on the west side of Oahu. I chased a woman back to Las Vegas and started working for the PGA Tour and their PGA Tour academies. And even to this day, that was one of the big things that really shaped me, because I would get players pre the housing crisis in 2009. I would get players in for 3 and 5 days, and I would get to basically just develop their games. And they trusted everything that I had to say, even though I was extremely young, and I should have probably given a lot of that money back to them because I probably made some classic mistakes. But, the PGA Tour and Travis Fulton and a couple of those guys were really instrumental with getting structure established for young guys that really needed help developing as coaches. And, stayed in Las Vegas for a little bit, worked underneath Mike Malaska for a couple of years at Dragon Ridge Country Club and the Nicholas Academy. And then it all started. I moved back after the housing crisis from Las Vegas to Southern California, and basically just put myself in a position to build my own brand, build my own instruction programs, work for myself. And then just basically started building relationships with TaylorMade Golf, which obviously I've been involved with for 15, 16 years. Plus, I've been with Aim Point since 2012. Dr. Craig Farnsworth got me certified as a putt doctor, certified instructor. So there's a lot of influential roles that got me where I am today, and I'm grateful for that. And then there's a lot of technical companies and technology companies that I've partnered with over the course of the last dozen years. So it's been a wild ride to get back to the Northwest. I moved up here because my family moved to the Northwest to basically retire. So I just wanted to be close to mom and dad. And I feel like, I'm very blessed, very fortunate that I've got a couple facilities that host me. And obviously I'm here at 18 Shots out of the elements today. So, but I'm thrilled to be here with you guys.
Perfect.
you
Yeah.
you started
Thanks,
out
Sean.
in Southern California, go to Hawaii, then you go to Vegas,
Vegas.
and then you brought up Fulton, which I know is where Teddy's from. He's down in
Yeah.
Jacksonville, Florida, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
he's in Palm
I've
Beach.
seen him on like Instagram, and then you go to the Northwest.
Yeah, I went back to California, and that's kind of where it all started for 7-8 years of like branding my own business, my own coaching programs, partnering up with, the Golf Digest, those types of schools, those types of organizations for golf schools, player development programs, and just really getting involved in the grassroots of the game of golf. And then I made the move to the Northwest. I actually took the job up here first working at Royal Oaks Country Club. So I was the director of instruction at Royal Oaks, and it was a fantastic place for me to really get established here. 2 years later is kind of when I opened my first indoor facility, which was probably 6 years ago, and sold that almost a year later to the owner of the building, and kind of proved the concept there prior to COVID, which was for me, this facility that I opened 18 shots was a no-brainer when COVID hit and when my son was born. So, fortunately, we're going into our 5th year in business, and we're expanding to 2 different locations in Vancouver and in Portland. So it's going to be an exciting road. But Travis Fulton, I mean, if you bring up that name, everyone in the industry knows Travis. He was one of the big names that obviously had a lot of different ideas, but just really moved the needle with mentoring younger coaches, and just truly grateful for that guy.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's got a little indoor shop down the street from me. He's opening a second one this summer, I think, in downtown Jacksonville. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sweet.
So when for you, like I always find this interesting, because I think at some point there's like a time when you go from like player to coach, right? So like, what did your playing life look like? Were you competitive, or did it just go, you fell in love with the game and you wanted to just help as many people as possible? Because I think those are kind of the 2 avenues that we see.
No, for sure. That's a huge valid point. I mean, I played 3 years in college in San Diego, bounced around playing on the Golden State, Pepsi, Gateway Tour, Canadian Tour. I had full-blown reconstructive elbow surgery. After my 3rd year, I had one great week where everything came together, and I ended up cashing one big check. But that 1 week for me, and then having elbow surgery, and then working my way back to being, a competent player was it was an experience for me to go through, because I still have those expectations that I thought at the time were realistic, but they were nowhere the realistic level that I needed to have them set at. And that was kind of the time where I'm like, you know what, I have 2 different degrees. I might as well use those degrees. My mom was a teacher and educator all her life, which is probably why I turned out to be an educator and a coach. But, that's probably the time where I was like, you know what, as a PGA pro, I can play in chapter events, pro-ams, section events, try to make it, through the PGA section national championships, which is, it's a great opportunity. And, honestly, it takes you all the way to the PGA championship. I mean, look what Michael did, and a couple of the other, big names in the PGA. So that to me, once I found like, all right, my expectations are now here at this current level and they need to be realistic. I went out there and played social golf and still competed and still do compete, and I have a great time. My perspective is totally different than where it was back in the day when I had to survive shooting a 68 or a 66 and I had to play 3-4 days in a row. So I'm playing probably the best golf, and I'm 43. I don't feel like I really have any holes in my game. I just don't practice. I've got a 4.5-year-old son. I love to just grab the clubs and just, go scrap it around and hit it, chase it, try to find it if I've lost it, and try to hit it again, and, problem solve and troubleshoot as best I can. I think I pride myself in making sure that my players are their own coach. And if a player can be their own coach and they can troubleshoot when they've had an errant golf shot, that to me is golf IQ at their highest level. So, I can live with that.
That's an awesome story, because like I know you because of the U.S. Kids Tour in Portland, right? That's my daughter played in a few last year. But it's cool that you've got, I mean, gosh, I'm trying to count all the things that you've got going on at this point. You coach, you've got multiple places that you actually go. Cause I know it's not just Langdon Farms that you're head of instruction at this point. I
Yeah.
see you do that. You coach Aim Point, plus you've got the US Kids stuff. So you've got like 5 or 6 things going on at all times. You're a busy guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about,
You failed to mention the 4.5-year-old at home too.
Oh,
Justin.
yeah. And you've got a 2 times full job with a 4.5-year-old.
Yeah.
I actually don't expect myself to work when I have my son. And I think that's like the blessing. Now I can do that in my life. I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I can trust the great staff that I have around me to kind of free me up so I can be a dad and I can be present. And this, like every weekend when he's with me, it's so engaging, and that's all I could ever ask for. I mean, you guys all probably have kids, but it's tough. It is
2
tough.
out of 3.
But I fortunately have not really ever burned a bridge. So all these facilities that I've been able to coach at over the years, from Kapalua to, Coalina, Las Vegas, I've got a property down there. I just have friends and contacts in the industry that I've stayed in touch with. And more importantly, they see how their players react to the experiences that they have with me, whether they're going through a basic intro to Aim Point and they want to do something a little bit different, and they want to understand something that might help them, make quicker, clear decisions on the greens. And we can get to that quicker point here a little bit later. But, I think it's just a matter of understanding that, every niche coach, you really do bring something unique to the table. And I just, the putting in the short game and the green reading concepts are like my true passion. That's like where my love goes to. I can stand on a short game green or a putting green, and I can teach 6 and 8 hours when I'm committed to a facility. And all my facilities have a revenue share model in place. So when they basically promote me, they're getting anywhere from 10 to 30% of the actual revenue that I'm bringing in. And I don't think there's enough coaches that do that. I think that's why I have 12 to 15 clubs, and
right.
Frankly, I might bring 1 or 2 new ones a year, but it really does make a big difference because it does show that we're bringing some vested interest back into the home club. And, whether they're getting gift cards for their staff, I pay a San Diego property gift cards every time that I show up, and they just give those out to the employees. And the employees love the fact that I'm showing up because they know they're going to get a couple $100.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
I was hoping to go back a little earlier in life, Sean, and talk about this. One thing I enjoy is hearing, when somebody, gets that golf bug and kind of how early on that happens, right? Like Teddy grew up playing, junior golf, Justin as well. I was more so like, I would go watch it with my grandpa, on the weekends and occasionally swing the sticks in the backyard, but nothing crazy until about high school. What did that look like for you growing up, with golf? Was it a pass me down from your parent, your dad, or your grandpa, or how did that work with you?
I mean, I played competitive ice hockey till I was 16, and I think the coach that I am today is because my last ice hockey coach was an absolute. Can we cuss on the show?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was an
I
absolute.
Sorry, hell yeah.
And that individual shaped the coach that I actively pursue to be every single day. He put me down. He created the worst team unity. There was so much toxicity as a 15 and 16-year-old from the coach to the players. So fast forwarding, I was 16. I went to the driving range with all the people that as I would probably not have expected, but my mom took me. And I think we both got a bucket of balls, and she swung, I swung, and I went back and I was like, yeah, let's get another bucket of balls. And I think maybe a couple weeks later, I asked my dad, like, hey, can you help me out with, getting some golf clubs? Because my dad had golf clubs from 1960 that I was trying to hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we go to this like golf shop, and we got like Wilson cavity back irons that were like $299 for the full set. It was awesome. And I think from that point forward, I played golf with all my high school buddies every morning at 6:30 before school. And we'd scrap around 9 holes. And I still remember like the first hole that I played with one of my best friends, JJ Hennessy. I literally I hit my second shot on the green, or like just off the green. I remember like chipping in, and he's like, your first hole, you made a birdie. And I've been playing golf like for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I only make a birdie every once in a great while. So, I mean, it definitely like right off the bat, like it's a game that really kind of does drive some really unique things out of you as a player, as a golfer. But once again, like I don't have anywhere near the fun that I have and enjoyment in playing golf now, especially earlier in my days when I was like completely in grind mode, like grinding over a golf shot and being able to like make a check at the end of the week. I mean, I have so much respect for guys and gals that I've coached. I've got 2 players on the PGA Tour and 4 or 5 players that compete for a living, and I don't envy it. I mean, they're very high maintenance. Yeah. And it's a grind, but it's fun to be a part of it on this side because I can give them solutions.
What was you said you made one decent check when you were playing. What year was that? And what was that number at the time?
So that was the Butch Harmon Tour. It would have been 2006.
Okay.
And I mean, $31,687. And
did you feel like you made it? You're like, guys.
I mean, that was a big moment. I gave one of my sponsors, I think I gave him like 15 grand back. And I said, hey, this is for all the money that I've wasted, but I'm going to chip away at the debt.
Yeah.
But he was an extremely sincere individual with a very prosperous business up in Alaska. Yeah. He didn't need the money back, and he didn't fork me over $1 million. He gave me a couple bucks to let it ride. And it was nice to, get out there and at least kind of show myself that I can still play and give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a buddy at Bend Golf Club, and we play the member guest, and he used to play the Florida mini tours. And he always told me, he's like, yeah, I could shoot 68 every weekend. I couldn't shoot 65. And so it was just like 3 shots for him were the big deal, and why he like gave up that dream. Is it very similar for you? Like when you were playing on those tours, it was like, I just can't do that extra low number that everyone is just able to get to.
I mean, I was into my mid-20s. So like,
yeah,
you find like at the end of a long day golfing versus like actually inspiring and helping a golfer accomplish a new goal and improve on certain stats that they were absolutely terrible at. Like that's where my head goes. My head goes to like wanting to help, wanting to make a difference. Playing was just a phase. It was a phase in my life to like see how did I handle pressure, adversity, ups and downs, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I still like to compete with the chapter events and pro ends and things like that. But it's so much different at this stage of the game. But yeah, it's a point that everybody has to go through, and I think it gives you a calling, like your purpose. Like why are you here? What's your purpose in your life? I'm sure you guys have other full-time jobs besides this kick-ass. But I'm sure something else that you guys do, there's more of a purpose, and there's more of a passion that you have. This is probably a pretty cool passion to, share opinions and talk golf. I mean, that's kind of the beautiful part to all this.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Well, I don't know. I think we'd start talking about the indoor golf piece, because I'm kind of intrigued by how you went about this with 18 shots. And then, I mean, obviously we've got TGL that just launched this year. Yeah. And how's TGL actually impacted 18 shots? Because you started that in 2018, you said?
So in May of 2020, we opened 18 shots, and we have a 1,700 square foot facility in Vancouver, Washington, 15 minutes north of Portland, Oregon. We're in a small little community that's got 3 restaurants, a coffee bar, and some boutique businesses. And, quite frankly, the kind of the state of 18 shots was centered around, let's put big TVs on the wall. Let's have simulators that run the basic foresight technologies And then, fast forward 2 and 3 years, and I look back, and that's kind of when the time came where I realized, okay, well, we finally made it. We brought in a snack bar license, which is, incorporating some beer, seltzer, ciders, champagne, wine, snacks. We've got restaurants that we are partnered with. We have league play and memberships that are offered in annual and monthly membership. I'm not trying to sales pitch this, but all those things basically we were doing prior to TGL. And then all of our TGL nights, the Monday nights, the Tuesday nights, during the time that this TGL launched, we had every single hour booked with our league play. So our league play goes 10 weeks in a row. We've got currently 27 two-person teams that wrap up this week at TPC Sawgrass. And our Mondays, Tuesdays, and especially now that I'm looking at like the playoff schedule, I have to make sure that I'm not occupying those bays on those nights, because that's the nights people want to come in and they want to watch Colin and Justin and Steve, all their favorite players, now that they're into this mix of a 14 playoff. So it's created this level of buzz, and I'm in the midst of like opening 2 more locations that are going to be franchised 18 shots. And this whole like TGL, I think the number one thing that they had to realize is they had to create better, stronger graphics to capture the moment and create engagement for the people that are viewing it. And then they had to get those players to actually start chit-chatting and talking shit and like doing all the things that say like those players, they want to like bring them in and let them see like, hey, how does Kevin Kisner talk smack? Because he sure can be. He can't hit a green from.
He can't play golf anymore. That's clear.
No, he should stick to fishing or whatever else he does.
Yeah.
But his
I was
personality
so
is fantastic.
I picked Juniper as like my team. We all picked a team, and I was like, I want Juniper because you got Max Homa and you got Kiz, and both those guys. I think if this started last year, it would have been a different game. But oh my gosh, those guys are just, I don't know, as Cam says, pooping down their leg. So,
their golf games are down bad right now, is what we'll say. Yeah.
So I do have to say, Sean, like your website for 18 shots, like I've looked into a bunch of those because I've got a buddy who like just loves simulator golf, etc. And I think it's interesting when people open a simulator place, like how expensive it can be and how unrealistic it is. Like yours is spot on. Like I love what you've done with 18 shots. It's freaking awesome. So everyone go check out 18shots.com. That's your sales pitch for it, because there's a lot of cool stuff on there. So going into like TGL, I actually enjoy it. I think it's been awesome. I think it's been really cool, like to actually see them start to interact, and I think that's gotten better and better. What is your opinion on the technology that they're using with Full Swing?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one because I'm currently kind of working with Uniker and Full Swing Golf and Foresight, and there's 3 big companies that I'm working with to kind of find the right solution for us. And then, I watched that, there was a couple glitches. There was the big shot that Tiger hit, and it seemed like the ball went like 30 yards over the green, and the ball like landed on the back edge. And I've seen a couple things, and they're trying to pull off something that has a movable green with movable slopes, and I get that, but the technology's got to read the ball for the most part perfectly, and I think it's pretty darn good. And obviously, the size of the screen and what they're trying to get the players to do with all the different hitting surfaces. When you get into Doppler and you get into infrared camera technology, that's an indoor-outdoor component. So that's probably why there's a challenge. I've got Foresight, Falcons, and Hawks in these 2 bays, and that's infrared cameras. And infrared cameras seem to be a lot more reactive for indoor use. And then, you get the Doppler radar, the TrackMan, the Full Swing, the Flight Scope. Those types of technologies may be better for outdoors. But, I mean, I don't even know how far from the hit area to the screen. How far does that ball travel at TGL?
I think like one of the tees is 30 yards. The other one's like 40 or something. There's two sets that they hit from 30 to 40 yards, I believe it is.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe that's kind of where the holdup is, because it's in between the indoor-outdoor concept. But
Yeah.
I mean, besides a few glitches, I think it's great. And the only problem is, unfortunately, Full Swing's like Ritz-Carlton, their Rolls-Royce software is super expensive. So a lot of people can't really afford to have like that experience. But I mean, they do have like a $4,000 or $5,000 solution. And I mean, I know I've used it before. I think it's probably just as good, but again, I haven't personally had my hands on that, but I think for what they're doing, it's first year, they're moving the needle, they're getting some good players. It certainly has spurred some interest for indoor golf throughout the entire country.
I fully expected like more technology issues than what they've had, given like everything you just talked about. And my knowledge of simulators is like, how have they not have more issues than the couple, the Tiger wedges and who was it, Fleetwood, that hit
Tommy
one and just
Fleetwood with that
completely didn't
20 wood, I
register.
think. Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
we've all been to a golf simulator where it's 100% not registered our shot, and we're hitting in 10 feet away compared to 40 yards. So,
right. Well, I mean, I'm shocked by the lack of precision with their short games. Like those guys in the beginning, 4 weeks, they just did not seem sharp at all with their chipping, pitching. Bunker play was hit and miss.
it seems like that turf really like screwed with them on the chipping for sure.
Yeah.
All those chips that just came like 3 feet off the ground and were just like, instead of like going high and lobbing up, it was like, oh, that grabbed the edge. That was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also just like the environment too. You're not used to hitting a flop shot out of a bunker or something and then seeing like, I don't know, just stands and bleachers and stuff right on the
By
other
some
side
guy
of the
chugging
green.
a beer, sitting down right behind
Yelling
your
at
shot.
you to throw a hammer.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other issue they had with the bunker, when you mentioned that, is they had to start putting water in the bunkers because it dried out the sand so bad that it was just like, it was powdery. So they were like, we can't actually hit a real bunker shot out of this. So,
Yeah, that's what I noticed was like, can these guys just not play out of this bunker for some weird reason? Because this is awful. But most guys just dump themselves back in there early on, at least in the season. So
Rough life
like,
those guys have. Hitting bunker shots out of crushed marble.
Yeah, yeah, I know. They take a private jet from the Amex to Jupiter or where is it? It's not in Jupiter,
Florida.
is it? Yeah, somewhere down in Florida, and they're like, "Gosh, life is horrible." So yeah. So I guess that kind of gets us to you and I. We were on Instagram, and everyone's seen the Lucas Glover aim point needs to be banned, and it's like, dude, what the hell? And then Colin comes out, and he's like, yeah, sweeper putters need to be banned. And you and I kind of went back and forth on that. And I was like, oh, I want to hear Sean talk about like aim point. And one of the things we were just talking about, like Teddy, Cam, and I, we have a little knowledge on aim point, right? I think a friend of the pod does it. I've got 2 or 3 buddies that they swear by aim point, like they love it, and they do it for everything now. I mean, they went to the extent, they didn't go to a lesson, but they got a level and all that kind of stuff and kind of figured it out themselves. But one of the things Teddy and I and Cam were talking about, it takes a long time. So I want to hear what your thoughts are on like aim point. Like, so where do we start from there, you think? If we want to talk about aim point, we either get into the timepiece right now or get into like maybe the ABCs of it.
Yeah, so I think in theory, aim point is the ultimate feel-based green reading system based off mathematics and physics. Regardless of the putt, whether it's a short birdie putt, whether it's a single breaking 10-footer or a multiple breaking up a tier 40-footer. The player has strategies that the certified coaches in the entire world are basically given the tools to give these players strategies to handle those putts. And those strategies should empower the player to read a putt within 10 seconds. If a player decides to read the putt in different ways, like Max Homa reads putts facing the hole, turns around, faces the ball.
Yeah.
That's not something that we teach our players. If you see the young lady who hits the long putt and then she's got a 2-footer coming back and she goes to the middle of the 2-foot putt and she takes 2 or 3 seconds to just evaluate what the slope is doing, that's what we do, in fact, teach our players. It was her prerogative in that moment to address the 2-foot putt with what she's gone through with her training. So I side with her on doing that correctly. They didn't care to show that 2-foot putt and the putt that was previously that got her there. They just took a still shot footing over the ball like she was standing there for 10 minutes. So, there's a lot of simplicity to aim point. And the certified coaches met in Tucson the following Monday. I was one of them. And, the meeting of the brains basically came in and said, hey, you know what? We're going to do the strong release and push out of factual data, because Lucas Glover basically said there's no factual data that players are getting better. And Mark's done a really good job now to basically document all the players that have historically been poorer putters in the past, taken and learned aim point from a certified coach, and then the documented proof and the factual proof of their improvements, strokes gain proof over the course of the many years that it's been. So, not just your Colin Morikawa that comes out, but your Justin Rose, Adam Scott, Victor Hovland, Fleetwood, Rory's caddy, Dustin Johnson's caddy. I mean, Lydia Ko, you get into all these players, the masses of golfers that have learned aim point correctly from a certified instructor. The problem that I feel that we had to finally address is individuals that go off of learning from an uncertified coach, or they learned from somebody else that maybe learned something about aim point, and next thing you know, they're reading the putt, and they're spending a minute and a half to read the putt, and then they're walking 60 and 80 paces around the hole. That is an absolute, horrendous way of experiencing aim point. So, when you see all that, of course you're going to cringe. Of course you're going to be like, dude, this guy literally just walked around the hole 6 times. He's now on his 80th pace. He's crouching down again. He's now hovering his feet and setting his feet on his line. He's really close to the hole. And it's been 4 minutes. Like, that individual, I guarantee you, if they're not on our master list of names that have learned aim point, then, unfortunately, they're manipulating the fundamentals of aim point. And I always tell players that I coach, aim point and slope training, feeling flat, subtle, and severe, it's like being a good bunker player and the skill of hitting a good bunker shot. You have to hit a bunker shot in a fairly fast fashion. You've got 45 seconds to hit a bunker shot. Well, you've got 10, 15 seconds to read a putt, regardless what it does. And that's a fundamental. Now, Mark has built a system, and a lot of people just, I think, out of jealousy, or they want to take the credit for aim point, whether that's Tim Tucker, whether that's guys that have gone on to this tour read, and Marcus Potter goes and gets trained by Dr. Craig Farnsworth, and next thing you know, he's in bed with tour read. So it's out of jealousy, but again, like, the people that I think do make a difference, they teach it correctly, and they teach it based off of the mathematical way of getting it educated to the player, and it's very simple to understand. It's not based off understanding formulas and graphs and pie graphs and this and that. It's very, very fast, very efficient, and ultimately it's going to stick around. It's been around since 2008, 2009, and the meeting of the brains, the meeting of the aim point guys and gals in charge, and we're just trying to make it faster and more efficient. And we're just trying to create a little more consistency to the certified instructors and make sure that we can weed out the guys and gals that kind of hurt us, hurt the brand, if you will.
So I know the basics of aim point just because I have a couple buddies who've dug into it a lot. Now, again, they are not going to be on your master list because I know for sure they have not gotten coached by this. So that's interesting. But my 5-second explanation is always, you walk up to it, you take your feet, and you've got to actually, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, you've got to basically wear the same shoes every time, right? Like that's
Yes, sir.
probably, no, you just have to be able to know the slope difference, like the differences between your feet, right?
You have to wear the same type of underwear. Just
Oh, perfect. Yeah, well, Teddy doesn't change his, so he's good. You're going to aim point right away, Teddy.
I only have one thong though, so
Yeah.
that's why I can only play once every couple weeks.
As simple as it is, you literally walk and position your feet, and you feel the tilt in the slope. And whatever, let's just say you have a 5-foot putt. The player walks up to the dead center of the 5-foot putt. They position their feet so their body can assess whether the slope is flat or whether it's tilted in a slight subtle way or if it's tilted in a more severe way. Then the player would walk back to the ball and they would hold that same amount of fingers up based off the number that was read at the 50% mark of a short putt. We're just giving the secret sauce away. That's out there. That is as simple and quick as it should be, and that should take no longer than 10 seconds.
Okay.
So as a player gets further away, and then the ball has to start, or the player starts dealing with different slopes, different tiers, mounds, shoulders, spines. There's strategies for single and multiple breaking putts, and those strategies are in line with the learning process. So the player goes through, they learn how to read slope, and they learn how to feel the differences in slope. Then step one is learning how to understand short putts. And if they can understand the strategy for short putts, then we can move into birdie putts that are essentially outside of 6-7 feet to infinity. And again, a one-way breaking putt, a lot of people are going to read one-way breaking putts incorrectly, and they're going to miss the fact that the later part of the putt may break in a completely opposite direction. So we give them a strategy and a solution for that scenario. And, there's so many different ways of going about it. Some people are visual, some people are feel, and we got field players in the room here, but at the end of the day, I think what this does, it completely eliminates the glorified guess, because your eyes can't measure curve. Your eyes can't measure how much a slope is physically breaking. And yeah, you could take a phone and put the app down, but you can't do that when you're out playing. And I personally don't even want my phone in my back pocket when I'm actually playing.
Yeah.
So, again, this system's been around. It'll continue to be around. And it really, again, is, the goal that we have is to streamline and make it more efficient and make people realize, like, hey, you know what? If I've got bad knees, if I've got a bad back, I don't want to be scrunching down. I don't want to be, setting myself behind the ball, looking down at slopes, because I can't really see things. And, when you can't see straight, you can't aim correctly, then you start, laying this level of manipulation on your green reading process, which then affects your aiming, which then affects your speed control skills. So it always goes right back. If a player is a crappy putter, it always goes back to their green reading skills in helping them determine what they're actually aiming their putter at or their golf ball at. And then you can give yourself some solutions in place for that. So, but great topic. Again, I feel bad for Lucas. He took a big nasty, actually I don't feel bad for him, but
I was going to say, what?
You can
keep the beef going.
Kind of put your foot in your mouth. And, I watched him in the last few weeks, and there was a lot of like televised putts that he missed. And I'm like, again, he probably needs to trust something that actually is going to help him. And the broomstick putter, like, if Colin Morikawa really pressed that, then, Adam Scott's career is probably done. There's a lot of guys, a lot of players out there that, if you take away the broomstick, if you take away the arm lock, Sam Snead, style putting. I mean, there's so many different ways to get around it. You still have to get the ball in the hole, and every player is going to do things their way. I'm glad that finally, I think today I saw some pace of play regulations that the commissioner came out, and I was teaching all day, but hopefully it actually does, the guys. I mean, it will be a fantastic thing to see the tour play faster events for the fans and for the people that are watching on TV.
Yeah, I think aim point just took the brunt of something because it was Tom Kim that week that was playing slow, and he uses aim point. But I mean, he is kind of a slow player. But
Yeah,
I think
I think for him, it's not even just the aim point. I think it's like
it's not the
everything.
putting that he's slow at. He's just slow,
Yeah.
period, to pull the trigger. But the comical thing and kind of the irony of it is hearing it from Lucas Glover.
Yeah.
Like Lucas Glover has these like the storied history of how bad he had the yips. Why would you, of anyone in this world, want someone to go away from being comfortable at putting?
Right.
Like something that almost destroyed your career, Lucas Glover,
Right.
like putting, and now you're saying like, oh, we should ban something that makes people better at putting. Like it just does not make sense to me. I was like, this guy, come on. I was a fan until that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting road to go down, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, I think he has to kind of realize, you know, what he said and the backlash. And a lot of players I know internally, like 2 caddies that I coach, there was plenty of uproar comments that even caddies were like, dude, shut your fucking mouth. Like,
Yeah.
you're kidding me.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Totally.
Sean, I guess the timeline on getting certified in aim point or the classes? Is it like a certain amount of hours or a certain number of classes? What does that look like?
Yeah, so basically you would go directly through Mark. Mark basically approves all the certified instructors. It's changed so much since 2011 or 12. I want to say there's probably a level 1 hands-on training directly with Mark. And then every time that you're leveling up as a coach, you have to, if you coach a certain amount of clinics or you have to accomplish certain things, he runs audits, and the audits basically guarantee that you're not moving up and you're not going to continue to be a certified coach if you're not passing the audit. So you have to do things and say things in a consistent fashion to what all the aim point coaches in the world do and say. I mean, Mark's hosted aim point clinics in Spain, Thailand, Germany. This past year, I think I saw he was in like 5 or 6 different locations. But I think from a brand consistency, again, I think the aim point concept, it brings in the personalized way of handling a person, an individual in front of you. And coaching is an art, and you have to be able to communicate effectively to the person in front of you versus, walking through a video or going through a tutorial on an app. So that's kind of where I feel like, that's tried and true. It's really, hopefully it's something that continues to stick around for a long time. It's been a huge part of my career. Certainly,
it's not just like the stack and tilt VHS tapes or anything like that.
Right. No, I hope not. I mean, the old aim point video was very much a teaser. It kind of got people into understanding aim point, but now Mark's released a new aim point video series. I saw a decrease in clinic signups, but over the course of the last month, I've seen maybe a 20-30% increase. So, I mean, now I'm starting to kind of ramp things up, heading out to a club in Austin, Texas, Horseshoe Bay Resort. I'll be kind of venturing out around the Portland area and back down to Santa Barbara and a couple kind of North LA County clubs, Rolling Hills Country Club and Satakoy Country Club. So, again, just very, very blessed to be able to go down to those spots. So,
how long are those classes? Like when you go to a club, like what's like max amount of people to where it's maybe not quite as effective? And then like, is this like a multiple day thing?
Yeah. As a coach, I'll go down there for 2-3 days, but from a player perspective, you can go through an introduction to aim point. It takes anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. Okay. If you really just want to understand like the bare bones basics of aim point express and go through the basics that you'll need to know. And then if you are a more, not even a more skilled player, but if you're more interested in taking it up just a little further level than the intro class, a more comprehensive workshop incorporates aim point level 1 and aim point level 2. That incorporates the multiple braking, the speed control, I do that often. I do an aim point advanced class as well. And
Yeah, I was
then
gonna say, do you have like a sweet spot? Because I'm like, some coaches are better, with obviously like tour players or juniors or whatever. Is it the same with like aim point where like, yeah, I'm a little more comfortable explaining the double breaking as opposed to just like the general overview?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you get into the vast majority of golfers are going to fit really well into the intro class.
Mhm.
You've got kind of tier 2, which is the more comprehensive aim point class, which incorporates multiple breaking, speed control skills, maybe pre-shot routines, and some pressure stress tests. Pressure stress tests are ways to get players to perform at better levels. But, an aim point express advanced class or a tour experience are going to be 3-hour small group sessions. My 3-hour sessions are 2 and 3-hour sessions are roughly going to be 4 people max.
Yeah.
And I'm all about quality control. I don't want to bring in 8 people for 3 hours. I don't feel like the message is really heard. I've done it, and I've seen the value's not there. So, but we are branching out. We're kind of now starting to develop and teach a system for short game coaching. So short game coaching is tied in now to aim point. So it's basically your landing spot and then the slope that the ball's rolling across. So now there's a little bit of a system that's tied in. And, obviously we're a little sensitive to the fact that, hey, if a player's hitting a chip or pitch shot and they have to land the ball 10 yards away from them. So that's 30 feet. And then they have to expect the ball to roll in a certain outcome. We have to give them a quick game plan for where and how are they going to go read the slope so they can walk back to the ball and they can plan accordingly for exactly where to aim because they now know the way the ball is going to react. So it's not perfect. That could be a slow topic of discussion, but we just introduced that a month ago. But it's fun. It's fun to play around with new ways to help people out in terms of using it off the greens.
I mean, I don't think that's crazy. I mean, you see guys go and walk up and kind of get a better look on the landing spots and stuff. I don't think. Yeah,
for sure.
It's not going to be that out of line than what has been going on.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, a lot of fun, exciting topics in the world of golf.
Yeah. So, I mean, if someone wanted to go and take a look, I mean, I know I've seen some of your stuff on Instagram, right? That's where you probably post a majority of it. I've seen the different clubs that you teach at and some of the different things on aim point. Honestly, if I wasn't 3 hours away, my daughter and I would probably already have done an aim point class, but gosh, trying to navigate.
I don't know why you haven't done this yet.
Yeah, trying to navigate going to like tournaments for her and me playing my own golf and having my own life outside of just being dad and then driving 3 hours always ends up being a tough thing, but we're going to make it happen.
I will be back at the Crosswater, so I'll let you know when I'm down at Crosswater Club.
Oh, yeah, because that's only like 20 minutes for me. That'd be awesome.
I'll message you. I'll send you some details. Their pro just reached out to me, and he's like, let's go. Let's get something on the books. So. Oh,
sweet. Yeah.
But, if anyone's out there interested, you can just literally look me up, SeanLanyGolf.com. There's also 18shotsgolf.com. I mean, I'm pretty much on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I'm trying to ramp up my YouTube content. I have a ton of content that I'll continue to push out, but this is kind of still the time of the year. It's still super busy. So I'm here to help develop, but point to be known, I'm really focused more on being a putting, short game, green reading coach. Really do take, those specialties and really kind of put my heart and soul into it for my players. So if anybody does want to spend some time with me, reach out. Happy to help you.
Awesome.
So Justin and I can't DM you our swings.
You can.
Full swing. We can? Okay. All right. Perfect.
That's like a side hustle. Come on.
Okay. Yeah.
Just be ready to get roasted. That's
yeah.
John's gonna take over for Max Homa not going on Twitter anymore.
Yeah. Just in our DMs.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. Well, obviously we're kind of at that time. I think we've talked about everything that we wanted to kind of go over with aim point. I mean, like I said, I've seen some people just change their game with it. and obviously not even do it the right way, which I think is something to be taken like seriously on this, is that the people that are probably doing it the right way are not the ones playing slow. So everyone out there that thinks that aim point is the problem, it's clearly not, because you even have an instructor right here saying that it should take you 10 seconds. So yeah, Ted. So can't say anything about aim point. But cool. Appreciate you being on, Sean. And
yeah, boys, it was
thanks,
fun.
Sean. We appreciate
thanks for
it.
being a guest.
Enjoy the TPC Sawgrass. It's going to be a fun week.
Oh, it should be awesome. Players is always a good week.
We're excited.
But you guys enjoy. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Take care.